Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our Execution is a Verb business coaching webinar today. In this webinar, CEOs and executive leadership teams will learn some proven insights into executing on strategic plans that will help drive success. Most business leaders would agree that they'd be better off having an average strategy with superb execution than a superb strategy with poor execution. That's according to Stephen Covey. Anyone disagree? So why does more time go into developing and perfecting strategies and strategic plans than on the fundamentals of executing it? This is a picture I love to share because it really represents the master of execution, and that's Cirque du Soleil. Who hasn't experienced a Cirque show and seen the precision of their execution? It really demonstrates an amazing level of consistent execution to bring their show alive according to their plan, night after night. That's me, Jerome, as the founder and CEO of Agile Work Solutions. I guide CEOs, executive directors, and executive leadership teams in identifying their barriers, working to build and implement a roadmap through a proven, practical, and profitable approach for growth. In essence, we transform business through people by helping to simplify the complex with a focus on the 7 attributes of agile growth. And some of my clients are chief executive officers, executive directors, boards, executive leadership teams, entrepreneurs, and even founders, and small, medium enterprises and community organizations. So what are the 7 attributes of agile growth? Well, it's really a strategic business framework for growth that addresses every aspect of business operations. It is designed to incorporate outside content, tools, and principles. Think of it as an operating system that's closed, or rather that's open rather than closed. It never stops evolving. And that's the power of the agile growth framework here, is that openness. Too often we're seeing CEOs and leadership teams who lack discipline and a culture of accountability. And as a result, they don't commit to the consistent application of a proven growth framework. Put simply, they're failing because they've failed to commit. Well, the 7 attributes of agile growth is a more disciplined approach, and it's empowered by a proven, comprehensive, yet adaptable framework for growth. Those who select the right framework, we know from research, outperform their competitors, and they're more confident and productive as well. As a result, they're able to build award-winning companies and greater personal wealth. So a true strategic business growth framework, it's agile, it's comprehensive, and it remains consistent through time. Instead of a passing fad, it serves as a foundation on which new content, research, and tools can be integrated. So I want to share a bit of an analogy here in a moment, but the 7 attributes, here's what they are: leadership, talent, strategy, execution, customer, profit, and systems. Now, for today's webinar, we're only going to delve into the execution part. But in future webinars, we will touch on all these. So here's the analogy I want to share. If you think about building a home, after the foundation is laid, the framing of the home sets the basic structure for the home and will include the appropriate rooms to make the house a home. Think about a family room, a kitchen, dining room, bedrooms, bathrooms, laundry room, and even an office. Now, each room is carefully framed in, and the home would be incomplete without each room. Once framed, each family that lives in the home for years and decades to come may change the colors, the decoration, the furniture, but the basic 7 rooms remain well framed and the core of the home's benefit to the family. And so it is with the 7 attributes. Each is vital to a company's growth from startup to full maturity. And through time, various tools, service providers, and content can be added and modified, but the basic framework remains intact and holds the proverbial house or home together. Well, the growth framework is agile, scalable, and comprehensive. In agile, we mean it's continuous evaluation, it's course correction, and alignment to outpace your competitor's strategy, execution, and profit. Scalable, it can be scaled for any size of business. It's a framework. It has tools and advisors that can help scale it right up from IPO through a successful exit of an organization or a business. Comprehensive. involves thought leadership, which is always changing and being added to. That continues even today. Practical tools, and there's expert advisors, coaches in the 7 key attributes areas. The process is easy and speedy. You start by building an annual plan. We call it a growth roadmap with your leadership team, and then apply and learn the tools of the 7 attributes and use those continuously. Assess your progress frequently on a regular basis, or when market conditions change, or when there's a new opportunity, or as we experienced last year, when there's adversity comes calling. That's a key time to relook at your organization and what you're doing. Every company has a business plan. The question is whether they have intentionally and proactively planned it out as a team, or somewhere between sort of winging it or have it well and having it well documented and current. And we'll share more about this in a few moments. Today, we're going to give you the gift of a powerful tool to help you build clarity around executing on your strategic plan. Our tools are simple, they're one page and easy to understand. They're practical. They include learning instructions and discussion, how to apply it to your business. And they're actionable. They require discussion to apply to your business and understand the nuances and the unique circumstances of your business. Let's take a moment to reflect on a couple questions, starting with this one. What are the top 3 strategic priorities for your organization? And thinking within the current year, because that's what we're really talking about when we talk about execution. So what are the top 3 strategic priorities currently you have? Take out a piece of paper, jot down a couple notes, and we'll give you a couple seconds to do that. So if you have a chance to make a note or two on that, we'll move on to the next question. And similarly, write that down as well. So next question is, what problems and costs are you seeing in your organization from failing to execute on your strategic priorities? So again, those strategic priorities within the current year. We're not talking next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years out. We're talking within the current year. What are those strategic priorities? And what problems and costs are you seeing when you're not able to meet those priorities? Again, jot down a note or two on a piece of paper. And we'll give you a couple moments to do that. Execution is about turning your hard-earned revenue, your top-line income, into bottom-line net profit. For other organizations, such as nonprofits or community organizations, it may similarly be about turning your program funding into impactful services to maximize stakeholder benefits. We know that companies that are strong on top-line performance and yet struggle to make a reasonable or attractive bottom-line profit typically have challenges with their execution, being both efficient and effective operationally. We're going to be talking about execution, which is all about hitting and exceeding company targets like revenue and profit goals. Think about this question on the slide in front of you. Do people and processes convert from top-line revenue to strong bottom-line profit in your organization, in your company? Are they able to convert that top-line revenue to a strong bottom-line profit? If so, great. Well, if not, ask yourself why that's happening. Accumulating profit facilitates ongoing growth and development of your company or organization, as well as ensuring long-term viability and sustainability towards your mission. Now, for nonprofits, many may consider profit to be sort of a dirty word, but the real distinction here is that most nonprofits will never pursue profit for profit's sake. They don't need to gain profit in order to distribute to shareholders or the like, or to the owners. But that profit is still important to help grow the business going forward. So profit remains a legitimate, responsible financial management strategy and resourcing to meet goals, whether you're a corporation or you're a nonprofit. An organization that is agile and can scale successfully has created a culture of disciplined planning, execution, and accountability to get the right things done in the right time frame by the right people. And that's according to Jim Collins. And he's done amazing research on companies over the last few decades, and has documented that through a number of books looking at what makes companies and organizations really successful in their niches. Here are 5 key activities that, when completed, ensure this is a culture of disciplined planning, execution, and accountability. So these are key. Think about these. The single most important metric to drive organizational success, your critical number. It's a metric or KPI tied directly to the most important annual priority. Okay? To the most important annual priority. It's not tied to 10 or 15 priorities. It's tied to the most important priority. Next, 3 to 5 priorities that drive your critical metric, your culture, and your profit. These are smaller activities and tasks that will help drive these priorities forward. Your 13-week sprint is planned for weekly personal priorities. These ensure leadership activities throughout your organization are tied to the quarterly and annual plan. And it's 13 weeks because 12 weeks is 3 months, and this is a rolling window. So you keep adding on and taking away a week, it becomes a rolling 13-week window for your sprint. And that is really key to keeping people focused on that short term. Communications and meetings. A regular rhythm to enhance the flow and minimize meetings that take time away from using your roadmap to get to your destination. You want to stay on that roadmap, and you don't want to get distracted by a lot of meetings that won't add value. Utilize the power of your work teams. You've hired intelligent people. Tap into the expertise of those teams to solve your problems. Now, today we won't be talking about all these, but we'll be talking about specifically the roadmap going forward here. We'll look at this a little more through practical learning and a tool set here in a moment. But watch for future webinars where we'll dig more into priorities. We'll dig more into teams and that communication meeting rhythm piece. Okay, so reflect on this slide for a moment. See the contrast and differences between strategy, which is forming a unique and valuable position, and execution, which is the planning and taking action. Strategy is about where we're going and how we're going to get there and who we are. Focus beyond a 1-year time frame into the future. That's strategy. You're looking out beyond the current year. Execution is about taking that strategy and operationalizing it by creating an annual plan, breaking it down to 4 successful quarterly plans. We'll now focus on our learning time and work on the execution plan aspect of the 7 attributes. Now, as professional business coaches, we see that accountability as a recurring weakness in most companies, and that few companies have a simple definition and tool to greatly improve accountability in their operations. And if you can do one thing, this is it. Clarify accountability and responsibility. The who, what, when concept needs to be used at team meetings to specifically document commitments by team members to get stuff done. It's important to note that being accountable for an action and responsible are different. And a lot of people don't make that distinction. It's critically important. Accountability can only apply to one person who is solely accountable for the action to be completed by the due date. Accountability cannot be shared or delegated, but responsibility can. And here's an example for you. A vice president of sales is solely accountable to the chief executive officer for delivering a specific amount of revenue each quarter. However, the vice president of sales shares the responsibility for booking the amount of revenue for the quarter with his or her team, that sales team, and he or she could not do it alone. So pretty well every executive, every manager is going to delegate some responsibility to others because that's how an organization works. But that accountability remains with those positions. That can't be delegated. Next, we're going to talk about the 3 execution disciplines that are critical to execution success. The key to a successful year and quarter is your execution plan and your communication plan. You need to identify the highest priority metrics and improvements, and then meet regularly to keep the focus on the priorities and remove the bottlenecks. So the 3 execution disciplines are: 1, the priorities. What are the right priorities? And again, we're talking those 3 to 5 priorities, gain alignment, not looking at 10, 15, 20 priorities. Metrics. What are the metrics, the KPIs that are critical here? And using data, how are you using the customer employee feedback to guide and inform your top priorities? Third, meeting rhythms. Once you know your targets, how you're communicating them to the team with clarity and speed and staying on top of them. How do you know that? So those are the 3 execution disciplines: priorities, metrics, and meeting rhythms. And they're critical as you think about how to develop solid execution. I like this picture because I like flying, I like airplanes, and it's pretty cool when you look at what they do. We've been to an air show and seen some of this. Again, like a reminder of Cirque du Soleil, how the execution has to be precise each time. And if it's not, there's can be some serious consequences. Execution can only be flawless and beautiful if there's a plan. Everyone knows the plan and the role in making it happen. And it's the execution is built around habits that are proven to work. Okay, so this becomes a habit when you continue to do it time and time again in a flawless method, in a flawless approach. There's an old saying that rings true: routine will set you free. And this is true in execution. A few habits well practiced create beauty, efficiency, and profitability in a business. When I first saw this, I thought it looked like too much and complicated. Trust me, it's not. It will bring focus to the key aspects of your business in only 2 pages. This is the Agile Growth Roadmap. Compare this to what you may have now. How many documents do you need to refer to? Do they provide you in a clear picture in one place? Well, execution starts with a plan, and columns 4 to 7 of the Agile Growth Roadmap allow us to document this plan in a simple and easy to use, understand format. These columns help us drill down on annual, quarterly, and individual plans and set our quarterly themes, rewards, and celebrations in place. The key to a successful quarter year is your execution plan and how you communicate that plan to the organization. I'll repeat that. It's not just creating the execution plan, but it's that communication that's critically important too. We're going to start developing your plan and learn how to communicate the plan effectively to your team. Okay. So in the next slide here, we're going to go a little more into this growth roadmap. And we'll use the process, we'll be using the 3 execution disciplines: priority, data, metrics, and meeting rhythms to achieve your goals. Like I say, those won't be done all today in this webinar. There'll be future webinars around each of those to get more in depth. We'll briefly go through this and it will make more sense to you. So starting with the first column here, which is around goals, and that's the what. Annual priorities are critical number, and that's something you do yearly, is get what those goals together, the what of what we're trying to accomplish, and putting that in there. Now, again, this roadmap is not done all at once. It takes a fair bit of time, over extended period of time, rather, to fill in all the aspects to it and really get comfortable with using and understanding it. But it's quite easy to get started on, and we can help you do that with just some simple, easy exercises that will inform key aspects of this to provide guidance for you. In the next column, we've got the specific actions, which is your how. And this is something you do every quarter, is lay out what are those actions going to be, the quarterly priorities, and your critical number for that quarter. In the next column, we've got what we call theme, and that's the energy. And we call it that because this is a chance where you can get staff involved, get employees involved in helping develop a competition or a theme name around what you're working towards, creating measurable targets and a scoreboard that's visible. Even on here, it becomes visible to people. And think about what the celebration would look like and the rewards around this. Also tying in your NPS action and your employee ENPS as well, which I'll talk a little more about that in a moment. And finally, it comes down to the individual level. This is your accountability. It's the who, when of what you as an individual are going to do. Your KPIs, your quarterly priorities, your critical number. Okay. So these are done, the actions theme and your accountability are done quarterly. The goals are done yearly. And each person will have their own plan, and the individual piece is the part where for each individual, you're going to have your specifics in that. The rest will be the same for the organization. The real power of this Agile Growth Roadmap is to manage your business organization at a strategic level, tying the daily work back to your strategic goals. There is no quick path to building and using this roadmap, but successful businesses have come to rely upon it. Like I say, in two pages here, you can have a pretty clear idea of where your business is going and needs to be. It is never complete. It's a living document that will get updated as business conditions change with your strategy and your execution. So as a recap, here are the 5 key supporting activities in summary. The critical number, the most important metric. 3 to 5 priorities for the year and the quarter. A 13-week execution plan for quarterly priorities, and that's both at a company level, an organization level, and an individual level, both. Communication rhythms for leaders and team members need to remain clear, synchronized, and focused. Sounds easy. It's much easier when you're doing it on a growth roadmap where people can understand, work together on that. Lastly, team gamification on discrete problems and quarterly priorities to achieve success in a fun manner. That's bringing your team together to look at problems and figure out what those key problems are on a regular basis and working to solve those. In future webinars, we'll explore these in more depth. For today, we'll get started on your roadmap. Taurus Group is a financial services firm in New Zealand. It's established in Christchurch in 1995. In 2000, it merged with a chartered accountancy practice and developed into a financial services firm. Now, they've been growing by 20 to 25% for 3 years. That's pretty wonderful growth. But in the third year, the profit slipped dramatically. The next year, a series of earthquakes caused additional challenges, including staff being locked out of their building as it was deemed unsafe. This was happening to companies throughout the area, and many buildings were eventually demolished. Taurus Group had to find a new location quickly and get their business operating again, all while a few thousand other businesses were doing the same. So they weren't alone in this. They were also facing challenges with other companies probably competing for space as well. But they managed to get it together and get their operation continuing to go here. While revenue remained the same, profitability was further dropping, which pointed to an issue with execution in the company that needed to change. So later that year, Taurus Group decided to start implementing a one-page plan at the start of the next year. They started going with a growth roadmap and started implementing that, using that. And they focused on a clear strategy, setting priorities, and net promoter system. Okay. So again, they didn't have to use all aspects of the growth roadmap right away. They picked aspects that were important to use with the coach, and they started focusing on that. Now, not to sidetrack here, but just want to touch on the net promoter system. And the net promoter system utilizes a net promoter score as a simple one-question measurement to enhance customer loyalty and employee performance. It helps to create a culture focused on customers. And in a future webinar, we're going to delve into that in a little more. But suffice to say, it's a pretty simple, easy way to measure how your customers are viewing you. So Taurus Group set critical numbers around productivity, billable hours, and NPS with all clients. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because they had some great success with this. Across the first year of implementation, the company's performance improved dramatically as revenue and net profit grew. But even more exciting, in the following year, net profit grew 700% and net profit per employee by 570%. even as revenue grew more slowly and they added staff. This is a testament to the checklist's ability to help a company drive execution disciplines within a firm, and that in turn, good execution drives profitability. So to summarize here, execution is a verb. It's taking action on your strategic plan. If profitability is declining or declining faster than revenue, you most likely have an execution problem. Do you have annual and quarterly metrics in place? Do you have personal priorities for your leadership team? Is it visible? Is it measured? And is it activated? When we activate, it goes beyond just creating this on paper, but it's bringing it alive in your organization, communicating it out, sharing it out, making part of your culture. Do you have a 13-week sprint lined up? Keeping people focused on that shorter period of time instead of getting too far ahead of themselves. And do you have good communication flow? That doesn't mean a lot of meetings, a lot of discussion. It means the right meetings and the right discussions taking place. So there's 3 steps to executing. Review your strategic plan. If you don't have an up-to-date one, get one going. Keep it simple to start. See too many strategic plans that are very detailed and they don't make it into full execution. So keep it simple. Start reviewing it on a regular basis. Develop annual and quarterly goals, priorities, and a critical number. Use a roadmap like the Agile Growth Roadmap so everyone is focused on the same plan. It's visible and it's shared. Again, if you do this well with an executive team, but you don't share it out with the rest of the organization, there's going to be some challenges there. And you're going to find it hard to execute fully. Third, your communication rhythm. Save time and reduce ad hoc and unproductive meetings that don't focus on your goals. Set a regular, clear meeting schedule with a purpose for each. Now, these three steps to executing as a verb, hey, it will go a long way to get you going. By taking these steps, mean agenda will no longer be driven by the tyranny of the urgent, but rather by the goals and priorities critical for your organizational success. By turning execution into a verb, your leadership team and organization is better prepared to fulfill your strategic plan in alignment with your goals and purpose. Going with the successful slogan of Nike, I say just do it. Thanks for joining us today. I welcome you to keep this conversation going. If you need any help with this or any other tools I'll be sharing with you in upcoming webinars, give me a call or send me an email and let's connect. I'm more than happy to share any insight, knowledge I have. If I am not able to help you, I'll point you in the right direction of somebody else who can. Take care, be safe, and stay agile. Bye for now.